Second part's going to be on the frauds. So we'll start rolling right into it, crime prevention. The FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program defines burglary as the unlawful entry of a structure to commit a felony or theft. The use of force to gain entry need not to have occurred to be classified as burglary. We start off with this because we want everybody to know there's a difference between home invasion and burglary. We have not had a home invasion here in Monroe Township in quite some time, and when I say that, I mean a number of years. We've had burglaries. Now, if there's a burglary of an occupied structure, that does not mean it's a home invasion. A home invasion is when the person or the resident is the target of the entry into the house. So we're not seeing that. We're seeing that the home themselves, or sometimes the car keys or money, are the targets of the burglars. They're not there to interact with the homeowner or the resident in any way, shape, or form. In 2019, there was an estimated 1.1 million burglaries. This is across the country. A decrease of 9.5% when compared with 2018 data. The number of burglaries decreased 29% when compared with 2015, and then was down 48% when compared with 2010. Now, we look at the decrease in those numbers. We got to look at the economy during those points in time. 2008 was the start of a recession and the housing crisis, and people were losing their jobs, and there was all type of financial problems. So what did people do? They resorted to crime in order to make up the difference. They might have been unemployed, they might have been stealing to help support their families. So as time went on and we moved into the teens, the 2000 teens, the economy got better, people got their jobs back. That's why these numbers dropped. Burglaries accounted for 16% of the estimated number of property crimes. By subcategory, 55% of burglaries involved forcible entry, that's the breaking in of the house. 37% were unlawful entries, and 6% were attempted forcible entries. Victims of burglary offenses suffered an estimated $3 billion in property losses in 2019 alone. The average loss per burglary offense is $2,600. Burglaries of residential properties accounted for 62% of all burglary offenses. Now, we're using statistics from 2019 because it takes a couple of years for the federal government to come out with the latest statistics. COVID seemed to throw a wrench into a lot of these numbers. 2020, 21, 22, COVID altered everything. These numbers right now are pretty spot on for what we're seeing right now that we're back to normal, if we could classify it as that. According to the FBI, home burglary occurs every 15 seconds in the United States. That's an awful lot. So what we're going to cover here is a lot of basic stuff, and you're going to look at me and say, Detective Bob, that's common sense, all right? We mention it because a lot of the times we don't happen to see that when we investigate these crimes. So I want everybody to understand some of the basic things that we deal with, what we see, and what we experience. So for the most part, most burglaries occur where entry is gained through the first floor of the residence, whether it's through an unlocked window, front door, back door. We'll have people pose as delivery people knocking on the door to see if anybody's home. When nobody's home, they go around the back of the house. We're starting to see an influx of burglaries where they're actually gaining entry through the second floor. They're taking, one example, they took a picnic table, moved it up to the back of the house, took a dog house, put it on top of the picnic table, and then took a 8-frame pool ladder and put it on top of the doghouse. They used that to gain access to the second floor roof, and from there they got into the master bedroom. And why did they do that? They did that because most second floor homes don't have any glass break sensors and they don't have any alarms on them. So they knew that that was the least noticeable way through the house. Now, if a neighbor happened to be outside and see 2 or 3 people climbing up on the roof, that would have been a tip-off something was going on. But a lot of the times they'll pick secluded areas when they do this. They'll get into the master bedroom, and then from there is where most people keep their valuables. And in these particular homes where they're using the second floors, some of these people had upwards of $750,000 in cash in their master bedrooms exclusively. Now, let me explain something. Homes where those people are the victims, the perpetrators are doing their homework. Okay, they're doing the research, they're investigating to find out where the money is at. And we're going to cover some of those ways they may find this out, social media being a big part of that. That they know they're not just picking a house and haphazardly coming across that type of money. They're doing their research, they're doing their homework, and they're picking homes on purpose. So we're going to try to come up with ways to, deter them from doing this. Now understand, this is not an end-all be-all. We're going to give suggestions, we're going to give reasons and ideas. A determined person will find a way into your house any way they can. Nothing is going to stop them, hands down. So we want to make it difficult for them, that's for sure. Burglaries we'll see sometimes, distraction burglaries. Subject poses as a contractor, public utility service, or tree service. Knock on the door, they distract the victim by taking them outside to another part of the house. The second suspect then enters the home and steals valuables. You're often unaware of this because when you discover it is when you go back into your bedroom now to go to bed at night. 5 hours earlier is when the person was in your bedroom and ransacked everything, took your jewelry and cash. So a lot of the times we'll see it where a tree service will come to the house. So Mr. Johnson, we're doing some work on your neighbor's yard. We want to make sure property lines are in check. We don't want to intrude on your lawn. Would you mind coming out back so we can take a look at things? We want to make sure you're in agreement with this. And, it's just going to take a few minutes. Come on outside. And you go out back with the person. The second individual goes right into the house. And you're none the wiser until after you discover this. By that point, they're long gone. They'll wear the gear. They'll have the reflective vests. They may even have Jersey Central or public service and electric name tags, things like that. Questions to think about. Did you make this appointment? Is the visit unannounced? Call a company to verify they're legitimate, even ask for ID. I don't necessarily trust the ID. If you got somebody from Jersey Central at your house that wants to come inside and check something out, or they want to go in the backyard, call Jersey Central. Jersey Central will tell you if that person is supposed to be there, if they're on record as in your neighborhood at least, things like that. If you don't see the Jersey Central truck in front of your house, that might be a good indication they're not from Jersey Central, because usually they show up in the big power trucks. Same thing with public service, electric and gas, things like that. Try to look for those types of vehicles to put the person, if they're supposed to be there or not. And if all else fails and you really can't figure it out, don't hesitate to ever call the police. This is what we are here for. At home, if you have an alarm system, I'm going to chalk this up to the common sense thing I mentioned earlier. Please use it. All the burglaries that I have investigated, they did not set their alarms. Majority of them have an alarm system. They just never set it. There's a thing called complacency. Us police fall victim to that too. That's where you get comfortable doing something and you let your guard down. And it's a very dangerous thing because that's when you're going to become victimized. And that's when we're going to get hurt. And so we try not to be complacent when we do our job. We don't want residents to be complacent either. We want you to live here and be comfortable and enjoy yourself. And you have a lot of dedicated men and women at this police department that work hard to ensure you can do that. But at the same time, we can't be every place at once. So that's why you can't let your guard down. Just be vigilant. So if you have an alarm system, use it. Keep doors and windows locked. First and second floor windows, both. Use deadbolts. Lock your inside garage door. That's the door that goes from your garage into the house. If you happen to be home, they want to get into your house, at least make it difficult. If someone's going to kick in that door to get into your house, and you're inside, at least you're going to hear it. That'll give you time to call 911 to get the police to the house. You want to make sure you have those roadblocks set up. We always talk about it with slider doors. There's the bars, or you put the broomsticks in the track to stop them from being able to move the slider. That's great. That just stops them from defeating the lock that's on the slider door. That doesn't stop them from shattering the glass and coming right into the house that way. But again, something like that is going to notify everybody in the vicinity that there was just this tremendous glass break, and if you have the type of alarm system that recognizes glass breaks, that's going to help you. But do not leave ladders accessible or where they're able to be used to enter through the second stories of your house. Lock your sheds. Utilize lighting, exterior lighting, motion sensors, things like that. If you have the ability, you don't live in a community that has a homeowners association and rules and stuff like that where you can do this yourself, you're more than welcome to add motion lights, things like that to your house. Surveillance video equipment, we find Ring doorbells, Nest, things like that. They're all very valuable. They provide good information, they provide good peace of mind, but it does not stop people from doing things. We want you to understand that. I think cameras have become so common nowadays that criminals don't mind committing crimes underneath them. They'll stand right under them, they'll go into the house, and they look right up and get a beautiful picture of their face and stuff. That does not stop them from doing it. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Again, these are not end goals, but they do help us later on in the investigation. Keep valuables out of sight. You don't ever want to leave things of great value in plain view within your house or your vehicle. This just attracts attention. And if you're away, you're going to be away, you could advise the police for a vacation notice. This is a service we offer. You can either apply for it through our police website, where you can fill out this information, or you could just call our dispatch on the non-emergency line and give them the information, your name, your address, how long you're going to be away for, and your officer will check on your house numerous times throughout the day to make sure the house is secure and everything is good. If you're going to have somebody checking on your house while you're gone, such as a pet, somebody checking on your pets or watering plants, please leave that information on the form, because we like to know that when we're walking around your house and your daughter comes barging out the back door because she sees a stranger in the backyard, and now we have somebody running at us. We at least know that person is supposed to be there. We don't like surprises. So this is a service we offer. Please feel free to use it. Reach out and apply for that if you want. Be aware of anything suspicious for both you and your neighbors. If you see something suspicious, report it immediately. Please, if you see something, say something. The one thing I'm happening to notice, I've been here 21 years, I've noticed that a lot of the neighborly feelings that, people living close to each other, that doesn't exist too much anymore. I grew up in a neighborhood where I knew my neighbors and everybody knew each other. And I get the feeling that a lot of that really doesn't exist as strong as it used to now. In some parts of town it does. Other parts of town, I think people are, happy just to be left alone. But what happens when, during that, we go around and canvass a neighborhood after a burglary, and I'm knocking on doors and I'm asking people, did you happen to see anything suspicious? Did anybody come around that looked weird? Were there any vehicles that didn't belong? And they ask why, and I said, because your neighbor's house was just broken into. And they're like, oh, by the way, what is their name? And I said, oh, well, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. And they're like, I said, did you just move in? And they're like, no, I've lived here for 6 years. I've just never spoken to them. And, it's a shame to see that people are like that. Get to know your neighbors, because you'll know their routines. You'll know what's supposed to be happening, and when your kids come and go from school, and what cars belong in the driveway. And if you see something that really isn't right, then you could call the police and hopefully put a stop to something like this as it's happening. Steps to take to protect yourself against home burglaries. In general, criminals are big fans of brightly lit yards and entryways. Do your best to protect your home by having lights put in. Make it less attractive by illuminating potential entry points. Motion detection in your entry doors, windows, decks, and patios. Lock your windows and doors. Again, it may sound too good to be true, but simply locking your windows and doors can be an effective deterrent for a criminal looking for quick and easy access. A would-be intruder may simply choose a target based on whether or not the front door is locked. And again, when I say common sense, it's just something that we find is very easy to do, and a lot of people don't do it. Again, that may be part of the complacency where, listen, I feel like I live in a very safe place, and you do. You live in an extremely safe place. But that doesn't make us immune to crime, and that means we don't want you to make yourself a target. Social media seems to be an excellent way to share vacation plans and photos. But when you go online and you go T-minus 10 days till the big trip to Europe, you've just announced to the world that there's probably not going to be anybody at your house for a certain period of time. And then during that period of time, when you're posting pictures of the Eiffel Tower and the Colosseum and things like that, you now have told them there is nobody home. And that means your house is now probably vulnerable. And trust me, the criminals use social media as much as we do. All right, I know everybody in here is on it an awful lot. We rely on it. It's become part of life. They use it as well for this very purpose, to find out what people are doing, what their routines are. Facebook Marketplace is used quite heavily to peruse what people are selling. They set up appointments to come to your house, and they see what you actually have in your house. They see what property you have. And then based on the items you sell, you make yourself a certain type of target too, depending on what it is that you're selling. So just be very careful. These are all part of the things we say. You don't want to advertise your life to the world. This is why, because there's people that use it for bad reasons. Close your blinds and curtains. Keep them closed when you leave won't stop a criminal from breaking into your home. However, not being able to see the value of your possessions from the outdoors will often deter them from taking the chance. Again, install automatic lighting. Avoid advertising costly items. This goes for both advertising online and then letting people know what you have. As surprising as it may sound, burglars often monitor trash cans and recycling bins for clues to the contents of your home. Same goes for your mail. If you're going to be away, don't let your mail pile up. Let your newspaper delivery person know. Don't throw all the newspapers in the driveway, please, for the next week. Don't bring them. Don't deliver them, because when somebody drives by and sees 6 newspapers sitting in the driveway, well, they know you're not home. Eliminate hiding places in the yard. Some home invasions happen simply because the criminal has an out-of-line sight home entry point that can't easily be seen. Eliminate trim large bushes or shrubs or trees that cover windows, entryways, and patios to keep exterior hiding places to a minimum. So precautions summary. Make your home look occupied. Lights on timers. I don't know if people really use that too much anymore. That makes a big difference. If you can make it look like somebody's home when you're not, again, that's going to be a big deterrent. About 15 years ago, we were having an issue with a burglar. We raised him, not just us, we coined him the senior community burglar. And this gentleman was beating up Monroe, Ocean County, and Monmouth County. And he did this for about 3.5 years. And the gentleman was very successful in the fall and in the winter. That was because it got dark earlier at night. So he would place himself on a golf course in one of these gated communities and sit there at dusk. And at 5 o'clock on a Friday night, what does everybody do? Hey, let's go out to eat. So now at 5 to 5:30, he watched along the 300-yard fairway which houses would go black as everybody turned out their lights to go out to dinner. Those were his targets for that particular evening. And he would break the slider and go right into the house, take jewelry, and he would leave. Now, if he would break the slider in the wintertime, all of our other windows are closed, so you're not necessarily going to hear your neighbor's slider door being shattered as you would in the summertime. So again, the season was a benefit for this gentleman because it was darker earlier and our windows, everybody else's windows were closed, and people aren't really out in the cold at night. So when this was finally broken, he had over $3 million worth of jewelry in his house that he had accumulated over this time. And he was extremely successful because every one of his victims indicated when they were leaving the house by turning the lights off. So just keep that in mind. Lock all outside doors and windows. Keep your garage door closed and locked. Don't allow delivery of mails and newspapers or flyers to build up. You can ask the post office to hold your mail or arrange for a friend or neighbor to take them. Arrange for your lawn to be mowed if you're going to be away for an extended period of time. Check your locks on doors and windows and replace them with secure devices as necessary. Push-button locks on doorknobs are easy for burglars to open. Install deadbolt locks on your outside doors. Sliding doors are vulnerable. Special locks are available for better security. Don't share your vacation plans on social media, and be a good neighbor. If you notice anything in your neighborhood, call 911. Form a neighborhood watch group if you want. We can help work with your neighbors to improve security and reduce the risk of burglary. What to do if your home is broken into? If you come home to find an unexplained open or broken door or window, please don't enter. Perpetrator may still be inside. Use your cell phone or a neighbor's phone to call the police, and don't touch anything or clean up until the police have inspected for evidence. We see this happen a lot. I know it's very common to come in and panic. Oh my gosh, what did they get? And you're running in and you're opening up all the drawers and closing the cabinets and you're putting stuff back because you don't want your house to look a mess when all these strangers like me are going to come marching inside to investigate. But every time you touch something, you take away a piece of evidence that we may be able to obtain. So please don't do that. Write down license plate numbers of any suspicious vehicles and note the description of any suspicious persons. A lot of the times, the burglaries that we've been seeing recently, these neighborhoods have been cased well beforehand. Meaning, when we're finally getting home videos and stuff in the neighborhood after the fact, we're seeing that that car was in the neighborhood 3, 4, 5 times, up to 5 days before the actual burglary took place. And people drove by him every day as they sat there in the street just watching the house, just looking to see the routine of everybody. And a lot of the times people are just very unobservant and walked right by them or jogged right by them, and they're sitting there in the car and they're wearing ski masks inside the vehicle and nobody looked at them as they jogged by. You know, because that's something that I would call the police on if I went down the street or somebody's sitting in a car wearing a ski mask. Well, that's not normal. So don't hesitate to call. Vehicle burglaries. This has seemed to have picked up a lot within the last 2 years, and there's several reasons for this. One is the fact that the laws in the state of New Jersey have changed. Bail reform has been one of them. That means that people don't really go to jail anymore. Okay? We are arresting them. I can assure you that not just here in Monroe, but there are state task forces and all types of other groups that are put together to combat this. And they are making progress by taking people off the street. Unfortunately, they're being released back to the street right after we arrest them. A lot of the people that are doing these car burglaries and the car thefts are 13, 14, 15-year-old kids that are coming down from North Jersey. They're being employed to do this because they won't go to jail either. Okay? It just becomes a slap on the wrist, and then this continues. Now, this is not a local lawmaker issue. This is a state lawmaker issue. We want you to understand that. We are doing our best. We are locking people up, I assure you. Same thing goes with the catalytic converter thefts that we're dealing with. We are catching people doing this. Unfortunately, there are junkyards that are taking these catalytic converters, and they're doing it not by policy. If you sell something to a junkyard, they're supposed to take your ID and register it. So that in case the police ever come around looking for specific items, they can tell you, okay, I bought this from Tom Smith 3 days ago, here's his license, we took a copy of it like we're required to do by law. The junkyards that are taking these catalytic converters are not doing that. So now when we're going around and checking, there's no record of them ever purchasing catalytic converters. They've taken dozens of them. But they're not recording who they're getting them from, or they're doing a better business through the back door than they are through the front door. So this is all part of the things that police across the state of New Jersey are trying to combat. Keep your vehicles locked, even when you are at home. Keep valuables out of sight, which also keeps them out of mind. This includes wallets, purses, checkbooks, credit cards, and jewelry. Do not leave keys or key fobs inside the vehicle. 2 years ago, when the stolen car theft started, the big problem was not a single one of these cars was physically, forcibly broken into. They were all unlocked, and everybody left their keys in the vehicle. Okay? Now, our campaign got out to everybody. Lock your doors. Keep your keys out of your cars. People got wise and started doing that. The last year, we've been seeing now an increase in home burglaries. Because now that the car was locked, what do people leave inside the car? They leave the garage door opener, the clicker up on the visor, and the thieves notice. So if you happen to leave your car unlocked, okay, great, you didn't leave the keys in it this time. Now they get the clicker, they open up the garage door. The homes that they were targeting for specific vehicles, G-Wagons, BMWs, Mercedes, Land Rovers, things like that. They're not going after Ford Explorers and other types of cars. They were going after high-end cars. Most of these people keep their keys in the garage, hanging on the wall on a hook, or in the mudroom, which is just outside the garage as you enter the house. So they go into the garage, get the keys, open up your garage doors, and that's how you're notified, is by hearing the garage door opener. That's weird. Why is the garage door opening? And you go out in the garage and look, and your cars are gone. The key fobs, we're also finding out now as well that there are people that must have connections with dealerships. And so they're coming with key fob programmers. And so what that means is, with your VIN number, which is easily readable on your dashboard, the key fob programmer, you type the VIN number in, put a blank key fob into the machine, and it will now program the key fob with a frequency to your vehicle, because that's something that's recorded through the company. And now they can just start up the car and drive away. So there's been arrests made where these key fob programmers have been obtained, they've been found. So we're starting to see that. Now when I say that we're talking about across New Jersey. I have not seen that in Monroe. That doesn't mean that any of the cars stolen haven't had the key fobs duplicated or the frequencies duplicated. But in New Jersey, we are starting to see more of those. Do not leave the garage door opener in plain view. Do not move valuable items to the trunk while in public view. And most vehicle burglaries are unlocked vehicles. They'll walk around checking for unlocked cars. Most motor vehicle burglary thefts occur because key fobs were left in the vehicle. Please lock your vehicles. What to do if you're the victim of a motor vehicle burglary or theft? Once something like this happens, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of panic. You're thinking of a lot of things at once. You're trying to do a lot. You're going to have people like me asking you questions about what did you do leading up to this? What happened when you came back? What did you see? What happened? What about your credit cards? There's going to be all this stuff racing through your mind. If you have things like your credit cards and credit card information written down someplace, that's great, because when you need to call those companies to cancel those cards, it's going to be a lot easier than trying to remember what you actually had in your wallet or your purse. As soon as these cards are stolen, They run right to Walmarts, they run right to Quick Checks, they run right to Wawa's, and they use your credit card to buy thousands of dollars of gift cards. Okay, so no matter how quick you think you are, we see so many where the burglary may have occurred or the loss of the wallet may have occurred 15 minutes prior, and they've already got $2,000 worth of charges to the cards because they go right to the nearest place to purchase these gift cards. If you have an Easy Pass, create an online account so they can monitor travel and activity. If you have OnStar or a vehicle tracking service in your vehicle, please make sure you activate them, keep them up to date. Again, this isn't a fail-safe. A lot of the thieves know where the OnStar units are within the vehicle. They know where the LoJack systems are within the vehicle. They will actually rip them out as they're leaving your driveway and throw it on the front lawn. We've been to several of these where the person is like, oh, I'm tracking it. It's right around the corner from my house. And we drive around the corner and we find the piece sitting in the street. They threw it out the window as they took off. So again, they are not fail-safes. These aren't the ultimate solutions, but they are there to help you. We're finding that if people take, what are those, Apple AirTags? Apple AirTags are roughly the size of a poker chip. And it transmits a homing signal to your phone or your iPad. You can put them wherever you want. A lot of parents put them in their kids' book bags and things like that. Some people put them on motorcycles in case their bike is ever stolen. Hide one in your car somewhere. All right, it's only for you. Make sure it's registered to your phone or your iPad, because then if your vehicle is ever stolen, you can at least find out where the vehicle is going, because that tag is going to be where you put it. Make sure you put it somewhere good. The thieves know where the OnStar and the LoJacks are because those companies put them in the same place all the time. But they're not going to know where your AirTag is. So something like that it might be beneficial for you to put somewhere. We like to have people do what they call the 9 p.m. routine before you go to bed. And you start watching Netflix and falling asleep on the couch. You want to have your house and everything locked up. Have your vehicles locked, have your windows locked, have your garage closed. Take your packages off the porch. I drive around town and I see so many homes that have piles of Amazon boxes, delivery boxes sitting on the porch. And I don't know if it's just that they order so much and they're just like, well, I don't really need it right now because I know it's dog food and I don't need the dog food yet, so they leave it out there. Or they just forget about it. But porch pirating is a big thing. Everybody, we take reports all the time that people have stuff stolen from their front porches because the stuff is left out there morning, noon, and night. So again, don't make yourself an attractive target. We have a voluntary security camera registry. This is in case people want to let us know you have a security camera system. It allows us to quickly find people within certain neighborhoods. If we need video footage of a particular incident or a vehicle we're looking for, we're still going to go door to door for the most part and canvass the neighborhood. This just helps us narrow down when somebody in a particular neighborhood has a decent camera system that we could use. And then you provide your contact information, so in case we don't get you at home during the daytime, we can call you. Thefts within the home. A large number of thefts occur within senior communities. Home health aides are the prime suspects. Cleaning people are also common suspects. Protect your valuables when aides or cleaning personnel are in your home. Do not share locations of jewelry and cash with anybody that you do not trust. And when hiring cleaning companies or health aides, please do your research. Use a trusted and recommended service, read the reviews, and avoid at all costs Craigslist. People are on Craigslist. You may find a diamond in the rough every so often, but for the most part, people use that because they can't get a job doing something like that through a legitimate company because they have a bad background. So they'll go out as an entrepreneur on Craigslist or other similar sites and advertise their services. And if you're hard up or pressed for, hey, this person, it's in my price range. It looks like somebody I can afford. I'm desperate. They're available right now. It may seem attractive, but you may also be opening up yourself to some type of problem. If you have a loved one who is experiencing the need to have a living health aid, you're starting to reach that point, then may be a good time to actually start removing some of the valuables from the house. Same thing when you have exterminator services, cable companies, things like that. Just don't ever let these people alone in your house. Be vigilant. All right? I know they're employed by a reputable company. That doesn't mean that they're a reputable person. All right? I don't want everybody to panic and worry about these things, but just be aware that this is what happens. Now we're going to roll into scam awareness. This is the second part of it. U.S. Department of Justice defines identity theft and identity fraud as terms used to refer to all types of crime in which someone wrongfully obtains and uses another person's personal data in some way that involves fraud or deception, typically for economic gain. That's pretty much going to be the exclusive reason anybody does this, is because they're going to gain financially somehow. They operate internationally for the most part, and this makes apprehension and investigation difficult. Many use leading questions and use wording to gain trust. Some use scare tactics, such as "you will be arrested." All right, now listen, in 21 years, a lot has changed in police work. But one thing I'm still allowed to do, all right? If I'm going to lock you up, I'm just going to show up at your house. I'm not going to call and warn you, okay? So when you get a phone call and somebody on the phone goes, "That's it, you're going to be arrested if you don't comply," well, that's baloney, okay? Because I'm never, ever going to tip you off. I'm just going to show up, all right? So use that as a key indicator. Don't fall for that. Most use masked IP addresses and or fake telephone numbers. There is computer technology that allows a caller to change their phone number. We see that quite a bit. Caller IDs will advertise even our police department. It will say Monroe PD. When we're dealing with the IRS scams, you'll see Washington, D.C., IRS, things like that will show up on the caller ID. These are all calls that originate over, like voice over internet. VoIP is what they call that. So they're making the call from a computer or a computer type line, so it's not actually going through a true landline. They can make the caller ID say whatever they want. The call's coming from somewhere on the other side of the world, but they can make it say Monroe Police. So we're talking about fraud categories. These are the different types. This is the top 10. Again, this is going back to 2019. Imposter scams, online shopping scams, sweepstakes, lotteries, telephone, mobile services, internet services. These all seem to jockey around in popularity. As people get used to one, that usually falls down the categories, and then the next one will jump up and take its place. So who it impacts the most? When we look at here, we see the age of the people that are affected the most. We see 60 to 69 years old is the highest group. Now we've got to ask ourselves, why is that? So Forbes magazine recently had an article that said, people above the age of 65 own 85% of the world's liquid assets. Okay, so if you're 65 and older, congratulations. That also makes you an attractive target, okay? Because they know you're going to have a lot of money, or at least according to statistics, you will have a lot of money. You've worked your entire life. Hopefully at that point in time you're retired, you're living comfortably, you have a nice nest egg, your kids are off to college or graduated college, and you're loving life. All right, and all your investments, you're living off the dividends if you're lucky. All right, but that also means you've got 85% of the liquid assets in this world. So that is why you're receiving a dozen phone calls a day from strangers trying to get every little bit of information from you. So also note on the bottom there, approximately 51% of Monroe Township is over the age of 55 years old. So over half the town, just barely, is in the top end of that category, or top end of those categories. So they can make those phone calls all they want to 20 and 30-year-old kids. They're not going to have a lot of money. So that's why they target your group. Majority of the frauds are initiated via phone call. And I think at this point in time, email has moved up to, if not the primary, the secondary point of contact. This is generally how people lose their money as a result of the frauds. Is either going to be wire transfers, credit cards, gift cards. Gift cards, I think, moved up to number 2 at this point. Debit cards, payment apps and services, and cash or cash advances. Bank transfers and payments, a little bit. A tip. So I told you before, we're never going to warn you when we come and arrest you. We also do not accept Walmart gift cards as bail. Okay? You cannot pay for your public service and gas bill with a gift card either. Okay, so please don't do that. We've had various people all throughout town that thought that they were on top of the game when we've shown up and we take the report and they go, but officer, I got all $50,000 of the gift cards I bought right here in this garbage bag. And they hand me this big heap of a garbage bag loaded with gift cards. And I said, okay, that's great. Now, when you bought all of these, At any point in time, did you ever give the person a number off the back of the card? And they said, well, yeah, every time. That's how I verified with them that I made the purchase. Well, when you give that number away, you give away the value of whatever's on the card. That card is now worth nothing. You can take the entire bag of cards and flip them in the garbage. Okay? So giving that number sacrifices whatever's on the card. Keep that in mind. And again, gift cards do not pay for anything outside of the store they are meant for. They are never bail, they are never paying for your gas bill or anything like that. And I say that over and over because we take these reports sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. In 2019, there was 1.7 million reported identity frauds nationwide. Of those, 23% reported a monetary loss. Those 23% contributed to a total net loss of $1.8 billion. That is a $293 million increase from 2018. Types of identity thefts and fraud, we're going to go through them coming up as we go through the slides, but this is a list of them. So we're going to start off with the grandchild family arrest scam. So this one here, your phone will ring, you'll answer, you go, hello, and just like the mayor said, Grandpa, it's me. And what's the first thing you say? Johnny, that doesn't sound like you. And now you've given the name of your child, grandchild, to the person calling. A lot of the times they'll have your name, they'll have your address, but that's all accessible through the phone book and online. It's very easy to obtain. But you have now given them the name of the grandchild. And yeah, Grandpa, it's me, Johnny. Johnny, it doesn't sound like you. Well, that's because my nose is broken. I was involved in a car accident. And they go on with the whole script. And that's what this is a script. And this preys off of your panic, your inability to collect your thoughts, and they purposely do this with a time is of the essence. If you don't respond now, there's going to be a problem and it's going to get worse. And so they play that, and they know that if they keep you going and they don't let you get off the phone to talk to somebody, they still got the hook set. Think of this as fishing. They're trying to set the hook. Anytime they can set the hook, they win. Okay? The longer they keep you on the phone, the better shot they have at getting something from you. So once they've assumed the identity, the caller will claim they have been arrested. They need you to pay the bail. Caller will try to legitimize the court system process as much as possible. After you talk to your grandkid, now you talk to the judge. And then after you talk to the judge, your lawyer gets on the phone and he gives you the rundown about how your kid's going to Rikers Island unless you come up with this cash within the next hour. But conveniently, they're going to have somebody come to your house and pick up the money because they're just nice people, you know. So I've sat in people's bushes waiting for the delivery or the pickup person to come to the house. And we've arrested these people. And you know what they're doing now? Now they're using innocent Uber drivers to pick up the money. So the people we've arrested turn out to have nothing to do with the scam whatsoever, except for being used as a pawn to pick up an envelope that's loaded with $20,000. They don't know what they're picking up. They just know they're picking something up when they get to this house, and they're going to deliver to an address in Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania. It's never in New Jersey. All right? So the courier could possibly provide the victim with a receipt for the payment, with a fraudulent case number. They come up with all of this stuff. Caller on the phone could also request the victim go to FedEx or UPS and send them packages with cash payments. Don't fall for that. If they want you to put money in envelopes and boxes, they'll ask you to wrap the money in tin foil. And then around that, put a bunch of magazines and take that out real good. Go to the UPS store. Put $100 insurance on this package. And when you're done, they keep you on the phone the whole time because they want to hear you going through this process. And then you're going to give them the tracking number because they want to make sure that they're going to be where this package is going and they know what time it's being delivered so they can intercept it. We actually had something happen similar to this at the UPS store next to Stop and Shop. We got a call from North Dakota Police Department, somewhere up there in North Dakota, asking us to go there to intercept the package. A resident in their town sent $25,000 to our UPS store. And so we went over there, and it was delivered at like 9 o'clock in the morning via one of the trucks. And we got the package, and we said, well, you know what, let's wait. Let's see who comes to pick up this package. And so we sat there, and the individual came in and pretended to be the person whose name was on the box, and as soon as he took possession of the box, well, whammo, he got arrested. Inside his vehicle, he had 30 stolen identities. He was simply a runner for this organization, and he would go around, and his job the rest of the day was to hit 7 other UPS stores and pick up packages that were sent from various states around the country, all loaded with thousands of dollars of money. And then he would take that, deliver it to somebody else. Each time he made the delivery, he was allowed to keep $150. These boxes had $25,000, $40,000 in each one of them that was being mailed out. So here we locked somebody up. We got the money back for our victims our victim in North Dakota, and then 7 other victims around the country that were at these other UPS stores as well. Do not give cash to an unknown individual, and do not send cash via mail. Pay attention to the requested payment method, and always be skeptical. We don't have the ability to play that. So IRS scams, very common during tax season. Person pretending to be an IRS agent will contact an individual, claim that he or she is an agent with the IRS, and that the individual has one of the following. You've got unclaimed taxes, bingo, today's your lucky day. Then you get the bad news that says you have multiple social security numbers, or worse yet, a warrant's out for your arrest. If the individual does not pay the amount owed, a warrant will be issued for his or her arrest. But we have people that have been told, listen, the marshal is on your street right now. They're sitting down the road. They're at the intersection of Prineville and Prospect Plains, and they're just waiting. They're waiting for me to give them the green light. So what are you doing, sir? Are you going to, respond? Are you going to go to the bank right now and get this money? Are you going to wire it? And this is all the pressure. This is the sale. This is it. They want you to pay. And then they tell you, well, it's going to be awfully embarrassing when 15 different federal agents swing into your neighborhood, and your neighbors are aware that you're a tax cheat and all this other stuff, and now they guilt you into it. So again, don't fall victim to any of this. The payment will be requested immediately and in a specific way, such as gift cards and or money transfers. But understand, the IRS does not initiate contact with taxpayers' email to request personal or financial information. This includes any type of electronic communication, such as text messages and or social media channels. If the IRS wants to talk to you, they will send you a letter, okay? False tax return. You may see this if you go and file your taxes, and the tax guy goes, well, I can't do this because you've already taken your return. You've already done your tax return. And somebody has used your social security number now, and they've gotten your tax return back. You'll be unable to file your own tax return at that time. It's very prevalent, especially with COVID refund payments. If you notice any fraudulent transactions in relation to your tax return, you must contact the IRS immediately. These are hard ones to fight against because the IRS doesn't know who you are either. So it's very difficult to prove your identity to them in the process of getting you squared away. Lottery sweepstakes scams. These still happen. I know my first introduction to scams was the Jamaican lottery scam. That was something that was very big 15, 20 years ago. A person will report to be an agent of a company notifying the individual that you won a large sum of money. This will also come in the form of an email or a letter. I recently had one in Rossmore where the resident got the letter saying that Publishers Clearinghouse, they had won. They were one of the grand prize winners. They won the Buick LeSabre. So in order to get that car and get the process started, they needed to call the number that was on the form. Calling that number, now you've got to pay taxes and fees in order to get the car. Well, that's no big deal. You only owe $3,000 if you're going to get a $38,000 car. So this woman goes to the bank and gets $3,000 and wires it. They tell her, okay, well, that's only part of the fee. You owe another $3,000. So again, the hook is set. They just keep working this until they can exhaust the payments. When the woman went to the bank the second time and pulled out another $3,000, luckily her daughter was on her savings account and got notifications that these withdrawals were happening. So she calls her up and says, Mom, what are you doing? I see you took $6,000 out of the bank. And she goes, yeah, I'm paying off the car I won. She goes, you won the car, why are you paying for it? And she goes, well, that's because I owe taxes. And the daughter came over to the house, looked at the form, and called us up, and I came over, took a look at it, and the phone number that was on the card, when we checked on Google, you can run any of these phone numbers for Google, it'll tell you the numbers associated with scams. And it turned out it was. So she luckily only lost $3,000 because she hadn't sent the other $3,000 yet. The agent will request payments for taxes and fees via gift cards, money orders, and or wire transfers. Romance scams. So COVID did one thing and taught everybody that they have, you're lonely and you need companionship, but since we can't meet, we can at least talk online. And so scammers develop a relationship with an individual via direct messaging applications such as Instagram and Twitter, Facebook Messenger, and they'll profess their love quickly without ever meeting in person. The individual will then make claims that they need money for medication, travel, or other emergencies. These people will cultivate these relationships for upwards of 8 to 12 months. All right? They will talk night after night after night and text and communicate and make this person think that they're a medic for the U.S. Military. They're in Syria, they're somewhere in the Middle East, and I'm doing good things, and I can't wait till I get out so I can come visit you in Monroe. And this is going to be fabulous. I mean, we're going to have such a great time when we finally meet. I got 2 more months in the service, and something happens right before they're about to be discharged. They step on a mine, they wind up in a medical hospital, and now they need money to pay for something. And they're crying to you that you're the only one that they can get the $50,000 from. But when I come back to Monroe, I'm going to pay you back, I promise. And this is usually how the scam plays out. People feel that they've developed this bond, and so they feel obligated to pay this money. Please don't fall for that. Vacation scams, it's usually initiated by an automated telephone call from a caller that states you've been selected for a free vacation. Upon the call back, you'll be requested to give personal information and or money for fees. Before you can receive your voucher, the caller will request money to cover expenses and other additional costs. We're not seeing that so much anymore. We were seeing it a lot when timeshares were very popular. I think they've sort of fallen out of favor now. So we're not seeing this one as much as we used to. Home improvement scams starts with a phone call. Generally, I would say a solicitor going door to door is pretty much how we see it here in Monroe. They'll attempt to sell you some sort of home improvement. They'll require a down payment. One of the more common ones, we see quite a bit in Mill Lake. Guy will pull up to your house and say, hey, listen, I'm doing a blacktop job right down the street. I got 2 other customers on your block. I'll do you for like $500 because I'm going to have the material, equipment, all this other stuff. Just give me $200 up front. And you're like, well, the guy's like, listen, here's my card, think about it. And you're like, yeah, all right, you know, I'll give you $200. When can you start? The guy goes, I come back in like an hour. So you give him the $200, he comes back, and now he throws a black can of Dutch boy paint up and down the driveway with a roller, and goes, you think it's tar, but at the same time he goes, I need a little bit more for supplies. Give me the other $300, I'm going to go get a little bit more to finish up the job. You give him the $300, he spent $20 on a can of paint, and you never see him again, and he's gone, and your driveway's got black paint all over it. So try not to fall for that. After they have your money, they'll either never show up or they'll start the job and just never finish it. How to avoid this? Do your homework, make sure they're licensed contractors, and avoid making any type of large deposits. Mortgage or debt relief scams, initiated again by an automated phone call or an email. They'll claim that they can work with your lender to significantly lower payments, loan modifications, or debt relief. Caller will ask for your personal financial information before they begin. They need to verify who you are. They're reaching out to you, but they need to verify your identity. So they're going to ask for all this pertinent information so that they can be confident they're dealing with a real person. After you divulge your information, they'll disappear or they'll claim to need a deposit. And this could cost you thousands of dollars and can continue for an extended period of time. Charity scams, they'll identify themselves obviously as a charity, and then this is very common after natural disasters when people are in a very giving mood after something tragic. Before you donate, do your homework. And as a side note, Monroe Township PBA, or even a state PBA for that matter, we do not solicit by phone, do not make those donations. That is a scam. We simply mail out a mailer in the fall, usually around Halloween or Thanksgiving. That's the only time we do it. I get phone calls all the time for Fallen Officers Fund. The number comes up as Florida. That is not real either. These agencies do not do this by mail for the most part. Or I'm sorry, do not do it by phone, so don't fall victim to the ones by phone. Can you hear me now? It's a new and popular scam. You may not even realize you've been scammed. You receive a telephone call from an unknown number, and the caller, usually in the beginning, there's a bunch of noise, and you're going, hello, hello, and there's clicking, and there's garble, and there's, you can't make out what's going on. And then all of a sudden, can you hear me now? And you go, yeah. And the fear is that they're recording your voice saying yes, and they're going to use your voice now to apply for loans and things like that over the phone. The caller is prompting you into saying yes, and they'll record your response for an unauthorized purchases. Best course of action to avoid the scam is to either not answer telephone numbers you don't recognize, or to simply hang up. See this? It's a flip phone, that's what I still use, all right? It keeps me out of trouble. I don't get these phone calls. I found that when that do not call registry came out, do you remember that? Yeah. I think when I signed up for that, it put me on the list for the calls because I got more than before. And I don't really think it really works all that well. With the technology now where I said phone calls originate from computers and stuff, this bypasses that security setup. A lot of the phones now allow you to be able to block these numbers, but a lot of the times the scammers have a rotating number that you'll never get a call from the same number twice. So you can block these numbers so you're blue in the face. You're always going to get a call from a different number. Mystery shopper scams, I don't really see that anymore. This is an older one, but they'll ask you to be a volunteer to go into certain retail stores. You're going to pretend to be a shopper. You're going to purchase some items, and we're going to give you a survey to judge on the customer service and how clean the store was, and we'll send you a voucher for whatever items you purchase. So if you could go there and purchase like $400 worth of stuff, we'll give you specific items because we want you to visit certain departments, and then mail those items to us, we'll send you the voucher. Well, now you mail the items away, you don't get your money back, and now you're out the items that you just shipped away. So that's, or they'll send you a check that's no good. They'll do that as well. Email compromise scam. This one here is a little bit more sophisticated and deals specifically, I've seen it with businesses where you're asked to email something, but the email address is off by a character that you don't realize. They'll send you an email first, and when you respond, you can see the two examples there where the email has two I's in it. It's just a small little thing that they're hoping you don't notice. Again, that's with businesses usually dealing with funds and things like that where you're doing large transfers of money. FBI lock screen scams, this will show up in different ways, but this is one we're seeing a lot of. You'll get a pop-up that shows that the FBI's locked your computer. We've had residents that have gotten notification that looks like this screen that says, we've detected child pornography on your computer. There's some type of scary threat that comes along that you are being monitored, you're going to be arrested. Call this phone number. So you're put in direct contact with the scammer, and they're going to scare you into giving them money some way or another, again, through either gift cards or wire transfers. A lot of the times that this will claim to unlock your computer or clear your name in the investigation. Also, computer repair scams. This one we're seeing a lot where you'll get the notification from Microsoft or Apple to call the number. You call the number and you think you're talking to Microsoft, but you're not. The worst part of this is now when they ask for the ability to have remote access to your computer. So in order to help fix the problem, because you've got something serious the matter with your hard drive, they're going to help you fix it. They want access. So they direct you to a site where you're going to enter a code, and now all of a sudden your mouse is moving all around, windows are opening and closing, and they're telling you, don't worry, just sit back, we're fixing the problem. So I've had residents that have watched this happen for 4 or 5 days. Somebody is going through their computer every day nonstop. And they're waiting for this to be fixed. Well, during that time, these people are going through and they're checking all the software on your computer for all your previous keystrokes. They're checking all your cookies to see which banking you deal with, what your bank account numbers are, what your credit card numbers are, what Amazon purchases you made, what cards you used to make those Amazon purchases. And now they're using that information against you. We had a resident in town, she lived with her father, and they used this ability to get into the computer, and they took $400-some thousand of the father's 401k and moved the money to China. So now when this woman wanted to dispute this because, well, this was fraudulently taken, I didn't remove the money. When the bank looked into it, the problem with the investigation is that it showed all the transactions occurred from her IP address. So the bank's excuse was, well, you did do this because it all comes from your house. Nobody did this, you did it. And so using a police report, and I was on the phone with the bank a lot trying to help this woman, and it eventually got her money back because it was fraudulently removed from her account, that she had nothing to physically do with it. It's not like she was duped, she didn't do anything to do it, she didn't transfer the money. Somebody else had the remote access, they were the ones that pulled these funds. Once that money leaves, we're never getting it back, I'll tell you that right now. There's no hope. Once it goes, it goes. Once control is gained, the information on your computer is usually compromised. We tell people that if you're in this position, unplug the computer, turn it off, disconnect the internet. If you feel comfortable going to like a Geek Squad or some type of computer repair service, get them to somehow get this access off the computer. You know, you may turn it back on, and once you plug it back to the internet again, that access may still be there. And if they can't necessarily access it, they may be able to view what you're doing. So now next time you do log into your bank, well, you're giving them that information all over again. Or it will send them screenshots. They may not actually be able to control it, but they'll get information sent to them from some type of spy app that's put on the computer. This is the screen that will also show up as well. This is all part of the computer lock, or the fear that, child pornography has been detected on your computer. Again, just unplug it, turn off the computer, let it sit for a minute, you can put it back on. A lot of the times these things will disappear and it doesn't. Again, it wants you to reach out and call a number. Phishing scams. These are called phishing scams because this is just like I said before. They're casting a line and they're looking for a fish. If they get a bite, they've got a winner. The individual is fooled to click on a link into what they believe is a legitimate website, but in reality, the website's fake. This deals a lot of the times with banking, retail stores, bill payment services. I get it all the time for PayPal, wanting to know or update my information. So PayPal wants me to enter my information, click this link. And when you click the link, if you do click it, it brings you to what looks like PayPal's login screen. It looks like your normal login screen, but it is not PayPal. Now when you enter your username and your password, you've now given them your PayPal information, so now they're going to deplete your credit card or whatever else you have tied into PayPal. If you use your login credentials are compromised, they'll have full access to your personal accounts possibly. This can be avoided by double checking the URL, which is the address, and this ensures you're utilizing a trusted website. ATM skimmers, we're starting to see a lot more of this. We haven't had it here in Monroe, I think, since last year, but around the state it's exploded. Be very careful which ATMs you use. We try to warn people that ATMs in places like 7-Elevens and bodegas and corner stores and stuff like that, those ATMs are only ever checked on a monthly basis, usually by the people that maintain them. So somebody that wants to put a reader on there or a skimmer can put it on, leave it on for 2 weeks, come back, take that skimmer off. It's now got a couple hundred ATM card informations, most likely, and it's never going to be detected. ATM at a bank, that is checked multiple times a day. So when you pull up in front of Bank of America or PNC, you use the ATM there, they're checking that ATM all the time. It's usually in their lobby or right outside the door. It's a little bit harder for people to get the skimmers on them. But the skimmer is a microcard reader, and then a lot of times it actually has a camera as part of that. Because not only does it get your information when you put the card through, but now it records your keystroke, the video of your keystroke, and now it's got your 4-digit PIN number that goes along with it. It's nearly impossible to see on the ATMs, and be skeptical if you see something odd on the ATM, and only use trusted ATMs. This is another picture of it. You can see on the left, the real ones, and then the fake ones actually have that bump out on it. And that bump out is where all the electronic equipment is, such as either the camera or the little computer that records your credit card information, or ATM card information. We're trying to warn people as well. Be careful where you use your debit cards. If somebody steals your credit card or your credit card is misused, you're not losing the money. Okay? Discover or Visa, they're the ones that have the cash. And once they verify you didn't make any of those purchases, they wipe away any responsibility you have and send you a brand new credit card, right? Well, now if you have it tied to your debit card and somebody steals your debit card information, what's that tied to most of the time? Your savings account. So now they have access to God knows how much money, but that's harder to get back from the bank now. So whereas the credit card, let them use the credit card all they want, and it's not my cash. All right, the credit card's out the money. That also falls into how we end up researching this. If you have a credit card fraud, a lot of the times we don't necessarily do an investigation into it, because when the credit card gives you your money back, you're no longer a victim in the eyes of the law. The credit card is now the victim. And so once they refund you the money, we don't have any ability to be able to sign complaints against the perpetrator if we do find out who it is. And again, a lot of the times this originates out of state, out of our jurisdiction, and we don't have the ability to press charges against somebody who's not here. Medical information and insurance theft. Thieves will steal your identity, use it for medical insurance claims, unemployment claims. We were seeing it more so for the unemployment claims. That was during COVID, when the state was handing out money, hand over fist. Situations like this involve an individual purporting to be someone they are not, and they're able to receive certain benefits or monetary gain. This could lead to unexpected out-of-pocket expenses or higher insurance rates, tax implications, and inaccurate medical records. Any discrepancies or unusual deductions, immediately contact your insurance company and physician. I just got notice the other day that Robert Wood Johnson had some sort of computer hack occur back in July of last year, I think it was, 2023, and that it gave you an entire list of things that may have been stolen during this data hack, and it was darn near everything that could possibly be related to me. It was everything including my medical records and my doctors and medication, social security number, driver's license number, everything that somebody would want to be able to harm me financially was stolen. Well, now I've come to learn that there were several million people, I think 35 million or something like that, because it was a nationwide issue. It wasn't just a local issue. So these are all ways that you may find out that your information has been compromised. It may not be anything you've ever actually done. We have to trust the companies and vendors that you use to be able to take care of your information properly. And that's where a lot of the times this stuff happens, is it's not in our control. These things are going to happen because technology makes it that much easier, and we're trusting other people to take care of our information. I don't know if you've seen Apple, I know has the ability, they've got micro card readers. So if you're like a mom and pop business and you want to be able to make sales and transactions, you have one of these little readers. It looks like my clicker. You slide a credit card through it, keeps your credit card information. Now as a vendor, I can bill your credit card, get the funds. It's supposed to be easy and better for business. Well, that doesn't mean the person who has that is using it for business. They could be using it for their own no good. So when you're at a restaurant and the waiter comes over, takes your credit card, says, all right, so I'll be back in a minute with your credit card, and here are the mints, and I'll be back in a moment. Well, he goes in the other room and charges your credit card. What else is he doing with that card? Is he scanning it through one of those and now taking your credit card information and keeping it for his own personal use? That's possible, and that's where we need to be careful. Social security theft. With a stolen social security number, an identity thief can assume your identity and then use a social security number to create a different name, biological information in combination, thus creating a completely new identity. We were seeing this happen with children. Babies were being born and they're getting their social security number, and the social security numbers were being stolen and used for various reasons, tax returns and stuff like that. The interesting thing with this is, you as the parent aren't going to learn this until your child fills out some sort of tax return when he's 15 or 16, or goes for a job and fills out an application, and they do some type of credit history check, and they come back and go, well, there's an issue here with your credit because somebody's been using your social security number for the last 15 years. I think one of the best things Medicare ever did was take your ID number, used to be your social security number, right? Right, so they don't do that anymore because they realize how much they made everybody vulnerable to other types of identity theft. The reason why this happens so much is because it's extremely lucrative. That's why it's happening so much. Protect the physical social security card and be wary of who you share this information with. How it impacts us here in Monroe. In Monroe Township alone, frauds have increased 267% since 2011. In 2011, we only had 185 frauds reported. In 2019, 679 frauds were reported. Now, when I say reported, there's a lot more that I'm sure happens that people are either embarrassed about, they don't want to tell us, so they don't report it, or two, they feel that there's no need to report it because they know they made a mistake, they're never going to get their money back, so they don't actually report it. So I'm sure that number is considerably higher. So it went from 185 to 679, and I can tell you right now we're over 1,100 for, I think, most recently last year. So that number is skyrocketed. But now let's look at this. What's happened during that time? Monroe's population has grown dramatically. Okay, since I've been here, I know our population has doubled. So those numbers are going to naturally go up because we have more residents. That's, just a natural occurrence. But it also shows you how much more frauds are being committed. So here's an example of a scenario. Susan receives a phone call from an unknown telephone number, and the caller introduces himself as a law enforcement official, advises Susan she has multiple warrants out for her arrest. Caller states that Susan's social security number has been used to open multiple bank accounts throughout the country, and these accounts have over $300,000 in outstanding balance. Caller then tells Susan that if she does not pay off her debt, federal marshals will show up at her residence with a warrant for her arrest. She's understandably nervous and asks how she can avoid the arrest. Caller then advises Susan to visit the local Walgreens on Applegarth Road to purchase gift cards to serve as payment for her debt. She then leaves for Walgreens, purchases $2,000 worth of gift cards. When she returns home, she scratches off the barcode on the reverse side of the gift card and reads off the gift card number to the caller. Unfortunately, Susan has just become a victim of identity theft and identity fraud. They'll also ask you, if they don't give them the number, sometimes they ask you for a photograph of the back of the card. And they'll ask you to send it to them through the text message or something. Again, you lose the money the same exact way. How to avoid identity theft and fraud. Spot imposters. Scammers often pretend to be someone you trust. Family members, charities, company you do business with. Do not send money or give out personal information in response to an unexpected request, whether it comes as a text, phone call, or email. Do online searches and do your research before you say yes to anything. Type a company or product name into a search engine to see reviews and or prior scam complaints. Type the related phone numbers into a search engine to see if they're related to prior scams. And please don't believe your caller ID all the time. Technology makes it easy for scammers to fake and ID information. If someone calls asking for money or personal information, just plain old hang up. If the call is that important, caller will leave a voicemail. And we say that all the time. You end up getting these phone calls because you answer the phone. Once they realize they have somebody to answer, a warm body on the other side, you will now start receiving more and more and more of these. So it's important. If you don't recognize the number, don't answer it. If it's a doctor calling you, somebody that you didn't expect, they'll leave a voicemail, you call them right back. Once you cut off these calls for about a week or two, you'll notice they'll decrease. You'll start getting less and less of them because they're not going to waste your time calling numbers that don't answer. Don't pay up front for promises. Someone might ask you in advance to pay for things like debt relief, loan offers, mortgage assistance, a job, or even a vacation. If you do, they'll probably take the money and disappear. We had people that were being victimized using LinkedIn. They were putting their resume out on places like that, and what's the other one? Monster, I think. You put your resume out. And the scammers would find you, say, hey, are you interested in being a personal assistant? Yeah, what do I have to do? Well, perfect, because I'm in Georgia, and I'm going to send you a bunch of stuff in the mail, and all from your house. All you need to do is mail this stuff out, and I'll have directions where everything goes. So the guy goes, to get you started, I'm going to send you a check for $7,000. You keep $5,000 for yourself. The other $2,000 is money you're going to send around. And so now, a week later, the check shows up. They go to the bank, they cash it. They've got now a big envelope. They're running to the UPS store. They're making all these transfers of money. And the guy's like, you're going to get your next paycheck in another 2 weeks. So just the $5,000 I gave you, just take some of that money, send that out too. Well, after about 14 days, the bank gets in touch with the woman and goes, hey, that check you gave us bounced. So you owe us $7,000 because you pulled it out of your account. Well, I don't have $7,000 because I just sent $7,000 away. Well, now you're out, double the amount of money. So keep in mind that there are various ways people can perpetrate this. And again, they reached out to you. You didn't necessarily look for them. Credit cards have significant fraud protection built in, but some payment methods do not. For example, wiring money through Western Union and MoneyGram is risky because it's nearly impossible to get your money back. PayPal has a feature called Friends and Family. So if you sell something through PayPal and the buyer wants to pay you using Friends and Family, or I'm sorry, the other way around, you're buying something and they tell you to pay through the Friends and Family option. Unless it is a friend or family member, I would definitely say probably strictly family member, try to avoid it. What that does is, it's just like protection on eBay. If you don't receive the item, or the item is broken, or it's not what you thought it was, through the Friends and Family option, you have no recourse. You basically waived your right to be able to contest the purchase. So you'll never get the money back that you gave away. If you purchased it through the traditional PayPal feature, that money, you'll get it back once you prove that you were cheating. But the Friends and Family feature, you would not be able to get that back. And that's, like I said, through Western Union. I told you, once that money leaves, we can't get it back. A lot of the times when you're dealing with somebody and you wire money through Western Union, I'm sending it to John in Miami, Florida. People are like, well, why can't you get Miami police to go find this guy John? Here's his address. You only need to be the person who's receiving the money. The location does not matter. Anybody anywhere in the world could walk into a Western Union and say, there's supposed to be $10,000 waiting for me. I'm John. Here's my ID. They claim the money. They don't have to be in Miami like you thought. They could be anywhere in the world. And like I said, that once that money is received, and a lot of the times if it hasn't been pulled from Western Union, we can freeze it. But they're waiting for it the moment you send it, so it's never in the system very long. Talk to someone. Before you give up your money or personal information, talk to someone you trust. They try to keep you on the phone to avoid disability. They've told people in our town, don't talk to your husband in the other room. He's only going to laugh at you because you didn't pay your taxes properly. Don't let him know what a fool you are. Go to the bank and don't let him know what you're doing and get the money now. Otherwise, there's going to be a big embarrassment when the police show up at your house. And this person is scared and guilted into doing it, and their husband or wife is right in the other room, And all they had to do was talk about it, and they would have realized this is a trick. Hang up on robocalls. Don't listen to online sales pitches and recordings. Be skeptical about free trial offers. Do your research, and please always check your monthly credit card statements. So many people don't look at the purchases that are made. And we've had people come in and report credit card frauds, and they're showing me 7 months worth of charges that they didn't make. But they only just discovered it now because they didn't look at the previous statements. They only found it once, then decided to go back and look, and they've got 7 months worth of charges they never made. Check your monthly statements. Do not deposit a check and wire money back. This is similar to money laundering. Banks must make deposited funds available within days, but if the check is fake, you'll be responsible for repaying the check. And you can sign up for free scam alerts from the FTC at this website. The websites that are here, all the information, this slideshow presentation is on our website. If you go to Monroe Police, one of the categories on top is information. Scam PowerPoint, all of this is there. You can go through this and look at all 50 slides. How to avoid spam calls. You can register your number for the Do Not Call registry. Avoid that at all costs, I think. Registration for this never expires, and it's easy to sign up, just takes a few minutes. But now the smartphones. So now you have the ability to silence calls that are identified by their service provider as being potential spam. So that's the nice thing now about these phones, it'll say potential spam on it, because that phone is checking through Google the same exact way I told you could check numbers, and it's identifying that this number has been used in spam reports before. So it advises you that may not be a good number, you may not want to answer that. We've told people before that are non-Apple users, you could also go to settings and block particular phone numbers. This doesn't work because at this point now, they now rotated the phone numbers over and over and over. You'll get the same grandparent scam call from 5 different phone numbers. It's the same person, they just use a different number on the caller ID. Who to report it to? This is a listing of places you can report different things to, such as mail scams would be the United States Postal Service, and phone scams would be with the FTC, IRS scams are obviously with the Treasury, and if you incur any monetary loss as a result of a scam, please report it to us, the Monroe Township Police Department, in addition to any of the above places. And in case you happen to be the unfortunate victim of an identity theft, we have an NCIC file, which is a National Crime Information Center. This is a national database. What we do is we enter your information, such as stolen property, your personal information, if that is what's stolen. And so in case a police officer comes across anybody in the country, when they run your information, they run it through this database, because that's what every police department has access to. If somebody in Texas is using your ID, they may have a license with their photo, but your information on it. You're reported in Monroe as an ID theft victim. Now in Texas, when the officer runs that ID and it comes back as a hit out of Monroe, when you make this report with us, you're going to give a password that gets entered into this database. The officer, wherever this is taking place at, is going to ask that person, what password did you give? Hopefully you remember the password, because if you don't remember the password, you're going to be detained for some time while the officer tries to sort through who he actually has. You could also be removed from the system at any time. All you need to do is submit in writing a request, and we can pull you out of it as well. Who has access to this information? It's any state, local, and federal agency that has access to NCIC, which is pretty much all of them, all the law enforcement agencies. Your information is stored in there for a period of 5 years, and you can withdraw your information from the file at any time. And as I said earlier, additional resources. This entire presentation under information is at the Crime Prevention Scan presentation. So please feel free to go there and look at this. I encourage everybody here, talk about this with your friends and family if there's something you happen to hear. Again, more eyes and ears on the street helps us out. I thank everybody for coming here today. Thank you very much. And I pray that none of you have to deal with this, but I know we're all going to at some point in time. But again, just be very careful, vigilant, and if you have any problems, give us a call, please.